Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode here, where I am going to be going over the forecast, housing forecast. As you can see, John L. Scott, specifically Lennox Scott here, has put out his 2024 housing forecast for Kitsap County. So I'm going to go ahead and review that with us, with everyone today, as well as the usual trend graphics, uh, um, data that recently came out, or that has been compiled for December. I'll try and get to January here. January's won't even be ready until the 15th. Um, so we're always a month and some change behind on that because it's just not quite available yet. We've also got a couple of featuring some mortgage programs from these are from Priority Home Lending, and the Priority Home Lending, they have an office in our office or offices. That's a merger, or not really a merger, but it's a partnership between Cornerstone Home Lending and John L. Scott. So they've got their own little lending company, Priority Home Lending, um, and so they've got a couple of loan programs that they have come out with, and we're going to go over those, and also going to take a look at. Let's see here. This is the some data for Kitsap, and then we're also going to go over this article here from Zerohedge, where they kind of break down and analyze the interest rate cuts in cycles. There's a 2024 forecast here that's been put out by Visual Capitalist. Nico Conte created a visualization where they got it got it blown up here, where they review historical rate cuts that happen uh, after there's been a series of rate hikes. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. Start off with. All right. Start off with our housing forecast, and this was put out by Lennox Scott, the chairman CEO of John L. Scott. Um, so as he says, what you see is what you get. We're expecting a normal seasonal cycle, just fewer transactions, seasonal ebbs and flows as displayed here. The It will probably meet out something similar. Always in the summertime, as people like to move in the summertime and not in the wintertime, because moving when everything's frozen and snowy is never fun. And really, the only people who do that are the ones who absolutely have to, usually for like job prospects and whatnot. But as summer comes up, as you can see, we have a cycle that peaks in June and July, and then starts coming back down as people are getting settled for school. And that's another thing. Nobody wants to be jumbling their children around during the school year. And once again, in just this last year, well, this year 2023 was basically the year of rate hikes. So we didn't see quite as much movements, as much new listings coming up, and coming into the winter time, there was a lot less new listings, but people were still buying as they started to eclipse that. So we will go back over to the housing forecast. Restrictions of supply will continue throughout 2024. Sellers will move for the same reasons in 2024. So in other words, he's not expecting a whole lot of changes coming from last year to the next. And what I will say is that can be largely dependent upon uh, interest rates. In other words, Jerome Powell and his buddies over there at the Federal Open Market Committee. Higher home mortgage interest rates are creating a convergence between two scenarios that are restricting supply of resale properties coming onto the market in the normal sequence, especially in the more affordable and mid price ranges. Uh, Higher home mortgage rates and interest rates, fewer buyers, 70% have a home to sell. Result, fewer homes that will be for sale. And homeowners locked into these sub 4% mortgages, those people are not going to want to move when you're already locked into something that was like a 4%. Why, why would you move? You're not going to move for like a 6 or an 8% for that. So people are going to be sitting on their houses until they feel like, at the very least, like I said, unless they absolutely have to move. It means that people are not going to be in any rush to move because they don't want to lose out and end up on that kind of an interest rate, because they're going to have to basically, their next mortgage is going to have to be at whatever the current rate is, and that is not ideal. So in many areas with fewer homes available for sale, strong buyer activity in the more affordable and mid-price range. There is price support. Additionally, we anticipate price increases where there is a shortage of homes for sale. What that means is where there is a shortage of homes for sale, of course, because as we like to say over here in John L. Scott, real estate is hyper local. Drilling down to not just like zip code, but specific neighborhoods. One neighborhood, even in places like higher dense populations, like in Bremerton and Port Orchard and Silverdale as well. You can just going a few blocks in some directions, and there can be a drastic change in home value. So let's see here. 6 phases of the yearly housing cycle. 1, New Year kickoff, as we saw in just this previous one. It's doing that exact same thing. Spring market, pre-summer market, and then June and July is kind of where it peaks. So a little bit more here in 2022, we saw that really peak up in June. And then you have the summer market, and it starts to fall down into the winter market. That's a pretty basic run-of-the-mill cycle. I don't know what would have to happen to get that to flip or change in any drastic way. So who is moving in today's market? Life events, job transition, household formation changes, marriage, divorce, downsizing, estates. Those with major home equity, retires, and seniors with substantial equity, 4+ years in a home are generally going to have major equity. 1/3 of homeowners have no mortgage debt. So that's not too bad. It like to see a lot more than that. Personally, I like to see people who own their properties outright, as much to the extent that they can. Let's see here. Should I purchase today or wait until interest rates come back down? So the as always, I mean, if you have to move, you have to move. You don't really, but if you can time it, if you're looking for a better interest rate, we'll actually be going over that here in the future, what the possibilities may sit out. So in your local market, if there is a shortage of supply available homes for sale, we often see an increase in home prices after the first year, especially in the more affordable to mid-price ranges, which around here you're looking at about 400 to 500,000 is our affordable to mid-price ranges. See, the math may lean toward purchasing today. Economists are forecasting that home mortgage interest rates will lower over the year ahead. However, weigh today's higher monthly home mortgage interest rates payments against the possible increase in home prices. Um, that is a tough call because interest rates have most certainly been higher. If you check out my last, the last time I did a market update, I reviewed the historical interest rates compared with housing prices. Um, Interest rates have been like 18%, but housing prices at that time were most certainly not like the median average house price was not 400,000 or 500,000. It was you're looking at like the median house price being like 120,000. So an 18% interest rate is not it's not nearly as painful as like even just a 7% interest rate on a $500,000 to $600,000 house. So yeah, they're two forces that are fighting against each other. Um, so when is the time to refinance? Again, it is in the math. How long are you going to stay in your home? Roll refinance fees into the new mortgage. Payback calculation period is usually less than 1 year. Um, and what he's saying is that after you roll in it takes about a year to pay back those additional refinance fees because they're rolled into the mortgage. Let's see your scale of listings under contract. So this is, I'm not exactly sure why he put this in here with the refinance because if you are refinancing, you're probably not going to be selling your house. In a typical year, the sales activity intensity, they trademarked that? Okay. Sales activity intensity, trademark, of new resale listings is going under contract. Increase 1 to 2 levels in the spring and then mellows out back to the intensity over the summer and fall. In the beginning of 2019, when there was like when interest rates, you could get a sub 4%, there was a whole lot of people in on top of the work from home because all the tech companies had gone into lockdowns and offices and things like that. So work from home was the big thing. And so you could work from anywhere and not have to commute, which I tell you, for those who didn't have to, went from 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour plus commute, depending upon the traffic of where you live, to the commute from your bedroom to your home office is much easier on the sanity and also on the on the car maintenance and all that other stuff. So I personally, I think it was much healthier for in some cases, as far as the supposedly work-life balance. But that whole scenario is another. You could do an entire podcast on that one. Where will home mortgages and interest rates be in 2024, and how will that affect residential market? So above 7% current market conditions. Upper 6% more buyers. So yeah, our current market conditions are just above 7%. Upper sixes, more market buyers, a few more listings, and higher intensity. And then if we get into the lower sixes or even under, as usual, it's going to bring more buyers in the market. And a few more listings, higher intensity, possible price increase. So yeah, you start getting into there, and instead of the easing of prices that we've been seeing, you'll probably start seeing the cost of a house is going to start going up just out of market competition. Several economists are forecasting that 2024 home mortgage rates will decrease into the sixes and will go even lower in 2025. They either will or they won't. Which that statement right there, there's only one person who has any idea on that, or group of people, and that would be the Federal Open Market Committees and Jerome Powell. All right, that's it. Our markets our markets are completely hinging upon that small group, the entire U.S. And what that and case in point, we'll go over that when we get into this article. So separate markets, major metro market area job growth is the number one major indicator for strong housing markets, which is true. But more jobs, more money, and whatnot. Again, that's another analysis altogether. Lifestyle destination markets. If there is strong sales activity in major metro markets, there tends to be more home buyers that relocate to surrounding lifestyle destination markets. That could be true. As I pointed out before, with the world being, going more and more into the world of technology and remote working and the growth of the home office, that is less needed. In fact, I noticed that many people that I talk to find they don't want to go back to that kind of a live close to home in an overpriced city, so that they're relatively close to work. But that's a struggle. That's a struggle between a lot of companies. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but tech companies are requiring some level of people coming into the office more often, and then there are workers who are like, well, you know what? I'm just going to go find a company that's not going to make me come into the office all the time. So that is a tug of war that's going on in that employment market. Additionally, those buyers with major home equity are repositioning to these markets for several main reasons: closer to family and friends, lifestyle environment, downsizing, second home investment. Which actually, I might as well just go over that now. Second home investment. So one of the programs that Tracy and Ralph, or I should say Priority Home Lending, this was put together by Tracy Bell and Ralph Krauss, which he didn't want to put a photo up here. That's fine. I can understand that. I don't like putting my photo all over everything, but it's kind of what we have to do. So in November, they came out with this program where you can purchase a multifamily home, 2 to 4 units, and rent it out as long as you live in one of them, or one is basically your primary residence. Originally, it was 15 to 25%, so that makes it significantly more affordable. So if you find you either find a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex property, or you find a suitable piece of land that you want to build on, they've got this program for you, so you won't have to have like nearly as much upfront money for that for that loan. So I mean, it's still a significant amount, especially if you're getting a fourplex. You are purchasing four properties, but so long as you live in one and you get the others filled out, you can basically, you're living in your one for free after that, because in theory the rent from the others will pay for the house that you live in, and hopefully give you some more money on top of that. So why is this a game changer? Own your own home sooner for less money out of pocket. Build your own equity while adding extra income stream. Invest in real estate without exhausting your savings. Yeah, because you don't have to come up with like 15 to 25%. You can just do it for 5%. That's a big deal. Offset your mortgage payments with rental income, and contribute to an affordable housing options in your community. Well, I mean, that's basically if you're looking for something like that. But I also would say if you want to do that, and take a little bit of hit on your possible income, um, then that's a good charity. Uh, but I'm also not going to recommend that anybody shortchanges themselves um, uh, either, because we all have our own lives that we have to live. We've all got bills to pay. The vast majority of um, renters or our landlords are just individuals. They're not gigantic megacorps or anything like that. They're not banks. They're just individuals. And what this little asterisk, I saw this asterisk here. This asterisk right here. Fannie Mae guidelines update effective November 18th. So we're well past that. Good for financing an owner-occupied multifamily property, 2 to 4 units. The borrower must first live in one unit as their primary residence. The borrower may rent out the remaining units. Additional requirement restrictions, underwriting conditions apply. Not all transactions may be eligible. Speak to your local loan officers. They'll be more than happy to help you out. So if you, for those who want to jump into investing or expand your investments, and wouldn't mind basically living next to your tenants, that's a big thing too. People may not necessarily want to live live next to their tenants. But that's neither here. I suppose that's the best way you're going to be able to keep a good close tabs on your property investment. So there is that. And then we'll go over this one later. All right. So the luxury markets. Do we go over this? Yeah. Downside. Luxury markets. Currently, great selection, great pricing. Starting in the fall and winter, cleanup of luxury inventory begins. Several homes will be taken off markets and repositioned for spring. When home mortgage interest rates lower and the wealth effect increases, we will see an increase in luxury sale activity. Then musical chairs will happen for selected properties. It's the first time I've really heard of that in the world of real estate, but I mean, maybe I'll have to, next time I see old Lennox, I might have to ask him about that one, what that kind of means. You can chat with your local John L. Scott broker, preferably myself, but if you have your preferred agent, feel free. And then these are some of the programs that we have going on. Be buyer ready day one. If possible, become fully underwritten for a mortgage before purchase agreement. Market ready day one. Showcase your home in the best light, best possible price. Seller listing launch, which is just a marketing thing. Highest sales activity intensity is the first 30 days on market. So this market ready day one, any broker worth their salt is gonna kind of do this. They can trade market and whatnot, but that's just kind of a practice that every broker should, regardless of what firm you're at, is how they should treat your properties. But they're just trying to put a trademark on it. Okay, so we can go ahead and close this forecast out. No, I don't want to save changes. Okay, we'll go over this one in a bit. Next up, so we'll just kind of rifle through these. As we can see, this cycle is most certainly coming in. It was a big difference going in, instead of here in 22, where it was just kind of going up as the rate hikes, or not rate hikes, but the rate cuts were going in and staying into effect. As we had more rate hikes happening, you had this kind of wave pattern going on here, coming down. But we are expecting the same cycle to come up. We're not exactly sure what what the pattern is going to look like, but it's still going to go up in the summertime. It always happens. So be prepared for many houses on the market, and be prepared for much competition. So let's go ahead. Average price per square foot. And we'll actually go ahead and zero this down into something so we can see the numbers better. No, we'll just leave it here. Yeah, last 2 years. So from a year ago, December 2023 to December 2022, there's been a 5% increase from the houses that were sold here in 22 to the houses that were sold in 23. But from 2 years ago, when we were having that very hot market, we're actually down just a little bit from 2 years, 3.2%. So that's what interest rate fluctuations will do to a house. So days on market. All right. So our days on market, we're still sitting at, what do we have, like 40, we're under 45, 30, 35. So we're still just about a month. Again, we expect it to go down. It'll probably resemble more like around here than it does over here, unless Powell just has a whipsaw reaction and just starts driving those interest rates down. So sale price versus original listing price. We'll go ahead and zoom in on this. Just go to the last year. Last 15 weeks. No, I don't want 15 weeks. Last 15 months, that's what I was looking for. Show chart. Yeah, now we can see the numbers when it's just on the last 15 months. So you're seeing here, when you're around the 99%, basically what the sales price versus the original listing price just shows how well agents are gauging what the home will sell for. We don't like to undercut a home. So when a seller comes to us asking for a price opinion on their house or a market analysis for their home to estimate how much it would sell for, what we do is we look at the surrounding houses that match match a similar type to the house, and just give basically an average of that one of what we would expect the house to sell for. So when we have a reduction, like this is 4% on average, it basically means that the seller, even in an adjusting market, is still having to take a little bit of a price drop. Not a whole lot, 4%. It isn't too bad, but case in point, if across the board agents were taking a look at the average price and then deciding to start their sale price at a 10% drop from what they think it would sell, from what's selling in the market, and then that house goes over that, it would show up that the sale price, the final sale price, was actually being higher than the listing price. So what this really represents is how well brokers are factoring in price with market trends. Is what it is. So moving right along, 36. So we're still sitting just a little bit over a month. We're expecting this to go down, maybe a week or two, something like that. But like I said, with barring any major rate cuts for the summertime, it's probably going to be sitting around. If you're selling a house, you'll probably be around the 3 to 5 week mark that your house sells. And we'll go months of inventory. So typical December, we're actually um, about the same. 2.5 months of inventory, or actually not even that. 2 months of inventory comes down in the summertime. Um, Again, uh, what we have grown, historically, it would be considered 3 months worth of inventory would be a healthy market. Um, 2 to 2 months, it starts getting a little tight, and when you start getting under 1 month is when you start seeing prices go up because there's just not a whole lot of houses on the market. And again, what this month of inventory is, if we got no new houses up on the that came on, like people just stopped selling their house, and the only thing that was available was what is on the market, it would be an estimate of whatever this number is, 1.2, 1.2, 1.6, which honestly I think it'd probably be faster, go faster than that, because as people start buying the houses, and if nothing new is coming out, the existing houses are probably going to be purchasing at a much more accelerated rate, and probably much higher. You would probably see a spike in price on those few remaining houses because there's just nothing left. It's just kind of how competition works. Okay, so we're gonna close this. We'll finally go review this article here. So the key question marks for the U.S. and global economy is around when the Federal Reserve will cut rates in 2024 and by how much. After a rapid set of rate hikes through 2022, which if you had asked me, I was expecting rate hikes as the world was kind of settling. But pushing it as fast as they did just causes a whole bunch of knee-jerk reactions, as we are about to go over. So after a rapid set of rate hikes throughout 2022, the Federal Reserve now faces the challenge of timing its easing of monetary policy to ensure a soft landing for the economy. I have never known a soft landing when it comes to the Fed doing rates screwball stuff. Visual Capitalist from Niccolo Conte created this visualization from their 2024 Global Forecast series, using data from the Federal Reserve to chart past rate cut cycles and visualize forecasts by top banks and institutions on when they expect the first rate cuts of 2024 and after the number of cuts they expect by the end of the year. So we'll start off looking back at the past interest rate cut cycles. While interest rate cycles are an economic balancing act which must be carefully managed, rate hikes and cuts of the past have typically been steep and swift. So what that tells me is that the various Fed chairs throughout history, or in this case going as far back as 1969, we're hitting the panic button instead of easing it up a few basis points at a time and then giving it 4 to 6 months to adjust. They would be doing monthly and weekly hikes, because there's a delay. There's a delay in the cuts and when it actually starts to affect the market. So they hike 1 week, the market hasn't hit the market yet, but they haven't seen the instant gratification that came from it, so they would hike again and hike again and hike again, continually smashing that panic button until they overcompensate, and then we have these these hill and valley cycles that we see. Complete legit management, right? Right. Okay, so while interest rate cycles are an economic balancing act, looking back at the past rate cuts for historical context, we can see how quickly these cycles played out, especially those in the 1970s and 1980s. So we come over here, going over the start. So these are years when there was rate cuts. And it says past interest rate easing cycles indicate that once the Fed starts cutting, deep cuts can come swiftly. So these are cuts that were made after the very first rate cut. And we have here 2019, which is the last one. You saw that it would start coming down pretty steep. It plateaued for a bit, and then it dropped down, and they cut down to 2.4% before they just kind of let it ride out. And then as much like, when you get into like 1981 to 83, so over the course of that 2 years, there was a 10.5% rate cut. And you can see that they really knew what they were doing, because they dropped it down 6%, and then, we overdid it, so let's hike it right back up to 4%. And then over the next like year, it kept cutting it down. So, and then 74 to 77, very steep. Instead of doing what happened here, they just kind of like took a little bit more measured of approach till finally settling at 8.3. We have here 69 to 72, keeping it measured and then tanking it down, overcompensating, coming back up, and then coming back down to slightly lower than what it was, when really they probably should just let it sit there for a bit and let the market calm out. So like this right here, this isn't too bad. 2000 to 2003, very steep rate cut. Again, it's just, it shows that they overhiked to begin with. But then let the market settle for a bit before coming down. 89 to 92 this is just one cut. Let it plateau, and then it's downhill from there. So yes, historically we can see that there was it's just rate cuts after rate cuts after you have like a huge series of rate hikes. All right, so we will progress into this. Wow, 69 to 72, they had 31 rate cuts. Same with 74 to 77. There's only 10 rate cuts in 2019 to 2020. But it took and they went down to 2.3%. Went down 2.3%. Rate cuts typically begin once the Federal Reserve has confirmed that the economy has slowed down and inflationary pressures have subsided. Nearly every interest rate cut cycle has seen an economy enter a recession right before the rate cuts have started. Quote, there's always a delay between when central banks raise their interest rates and when the economy feels the effect, as I was explaining before, because it takes time for that to get into the market. It takes quite a significant amount of time. I would say that it could be anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 months before it really starts to show. You'll get the initial small initial effect, but everybody who's already like, have their rates locked in and are like shopping around for houses and doing whatever it is for their credit, it takes a long while for the market and the population as a whole to adjust to the new rate. So my opinion, measured cuts, slow and measured cuts over constant whipsawing and jerking the population's wallets around. Institutional forecasts for interest rate cuts in 2024. After some of the most rapid rate hikes in history have kicked off the latest interest rate cycle in 2022, market participation and banks are leaning towards a similarly rapid rate of cuts in 2024. So we are expecting cuts, but history past was it past performance does not um, indicate future activity or something like that. Um, for all intents and purposes, Powell and his buddies, they could hike more because there's nothing saying that, there's no rules or law or anything like that saying that they could do that they have to. Um, so most institutions, including J.P. Morgan, Deutsche Bank, and Morgan Stanley, are expecting the Fed's first rate cuts to occur at the midpoint of the year in June. So we might, if they're correct on that, then it might be a bit. You might have to wait till like the summertime before they start doing that. There is a group of, however, like I said, if you have to move, you have to move. But if you can wait, if you can ride it out until you start seeing these something more reasonable, then, by all means, be patient. There is a group of outliers, which include UBS, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs. I don't know if those would be considered nearly outliers, but they are expecting the first rate cut as early as March. So we'll see. We'll see when that comes to fruition. When it comes to the total amount of interest rate cuts we'll see in 2024, the majority of institutions are forecasting around 100 to 125 basis points in rate cuts, which brings the federal fund rate to around 4 to 4.5%. Now, for those who don't know what a basis point is, that is a percentage of a percent. So 100 basis points would be 1%. 25 basis points is 0.25%. It's just financial speak. Anyhow, and I think there was a number of institutions. So yeah, as they were saying, this group here believes that it's going to happen in March. TD Securities is expecting it in May, 8 of them in June, and then Oxford Economics and Citi think that it won't happen until July. So again, we'll see who is right and who is not. Okay, going on to the next one. Rate cuts or not, is a recession inevitable? While nearly every interest rate cycle of the past has experienced a recession around the time of rate cuts, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is optimistic that this time may be different. They always say that. They always say, well, this time it's going to be different, and then it turns out to not be different. That some people would argue that we are actually still in a recession, but again, that's another podcast altogether. Quote from Powell: "I have always felt since the beginning that there was a possibility because of the unusual situation that the economy would cool off in a way that enabled inflation to come down without any kind of large job losses that have often been associated with high inflation and tightening cycles. So far, that's what we are seeing." Well, I don't know when he actually stated that, but right now, at least if you're in the tech sector and in UPS as well, there's been a huge cuts across the tech sector, and the tech sector is a very large portion of they're a pretty good size of a good chunk of the economy, and so I don't know how the rest of the sectors are. There's, if you take a look at the data from the commercial real estate world, there is not a whole lot of people coming back to fill those offices. So a lot of data points, but I don't think that he's being honest when he says this. Let's see here. With the Federal Open Market Committee members themselves projecting more conservative cut rates in 2024 with a forecast median year-end rate of 4.6, time will tell whether more conservative or aggressive rate cuts this year will manage to keep the economy out of a recession. I don't know who said it, but there's a quote that I heard. Somebody said, I hear there's a recession coming, and I choose not to participate. So the it's all very it can be very unique. Some sectors will get hit harder than others, and there are anytime you have a recession, there are sectors that flourish. It all just depends on how it's brought about. Um, so, and then these are the companies that are estimating basis point cuts. Oxford Economics saying that it's only going to be 50 basis points, which is a 0.5%, all the way down to UBS, which thinks that they're going to go like 2.75%. So maybe this group here will probably be right, but a lot can happen in a year. So we will see how that all meets out, and I'll put this this link here in the description for anybody else who wants to take a look at it, take a closer look. And finally, we're going to go over this last program by Priority Lending. So this one is Family Opportunity Mortgage. Secure a home for the people who matter most. Priority Home Lending cares about making home ownership possible for everyone. We can help you find housing solutions that fit your family unique needs. Plus, you can expect a stress-free, seamless process from start to finish. So two groups of people here. Special needs children allows parents or legal guardians to purchase a primary residence for their physically handicapped or development disabled adult child. Borrower's child must be unable to work or have a limited income to qualify on their own. No distant requirement and whether the borrower's primary residence is located. Disabled adult children isn't required to be on the loan with the borrower. So I don't know exactly why how this differs from, like, say if you were in this situation and you just purchased a house on like normally. But I'm not a lender, so I don't know exactly how that would play out. But if this is something that you might think you'd be able to take advantage of it, you can give Tracy or Ralph the details, and they can explain to you what the difference would be. So, but also, aging parents allows adult children to purchase or refinance a primary residence for their elderly parents. Borrowers' parents must be unable to work or have limited income to qualify on their own. No distant requirement on where the borrower's primary residence is located. Parents aren't required to be on the loan with the borrower. So pretty much what this is set up so that, family helping out other family members. As I said, I don't know how this is different from, like, if a one family member was just going to purchase a house for another one. There might actually be requirements, as they said here, like distance requirements and stuff like that. So again, if this is something you might be interested in, here's their information. Feel free to shoot them an email, give them a call, whatever works for you. So that's going to conclude this first of the year market update and forecast. Thank you for coming in, and I will see you next time. Ciao.